Well, good morning. Thank y'all for coming. I know some of you came a long way. Hope it's worth your time. I'm Joe Taylor, and from the Blanco Museum across the street. And I'm related to half these people here, so they can give you their names. I want to start off with these little skulls over here. Been in the news a lot lately, and then things like ancient aliens, which viewpoint I don't agree with, but they show a lot of interesting stuff. The one on the end down here, the little tall one, is nicknamed Cinnamon, because it actually is a cinnamon color. And when I got the thing in the mail, they wanted me to study it, not touch it, reproduce it, give them an exact copy, and send it off to this film crew in New York City to a DNA lab, all in a very short period of time, which I was able to do. But as I was handling it, or working on it, I said, what is this smell? It's not a grave smell. This smells like cinnamon. I don't know of any grave in Peru that they ever use cinnamon on it. And there's nothing on it. It's just stained red from whatever happened to it. Anyway, ancient aliens said the DNA said it was Scott, which would be blue eyes, white skin, red hair, right? Well, that wasn't true. They let that go on for several months. L.A. Marzulli did DNA on it. He said, no, the DNA is Middle East like we would think. It's Egyptian, Indian. So we're trying to trace where these things come from. They're trying to say they're space aliens. We're saying, no, they're not space aliens. They may be related to the Nephilim, the biblical Nephilim. That's what we're trying to find out. So they are Middle Eastern, most of them. We're trying to determine, are these things all head-bound? Did they get that shape by head binding? Did they do it, or are they born that way? Well, here's some newborn babies over in Peru and Bolivia, and they have that really long head. So we're not sure that this is all head binding. The Egyptians had really long heads, so Nefertari had an extremely long, big head. Supposed to have a massive brain. So were they trying to emulate royalty somewhere else? Or are they related to some high-up caste that they were trying to emulate? Or is that the way they were? This little baby here, you see a cast of it over here. We unwrapped that thing with a film crew. We don't know if it was just a head or if there was more of the body. The body wouldn't have been but a pound or two, so why they would take off the head, we don't know. But the head was there. It may have been a human sacrifice, which the Peruvians were doing. We know that for a fact. So we unwrapped this little baby's head, and it's mummified for the most part, and the last fold of cloth that came off showed bright red hair. Well, that's not supposed to be in Paracas, Peru, because we've always been told that those are black-haired brown people. But we're finding out more and more that there's something else in there, and we think that goes back to the Middle East. Some of the Middle Easterns had red hair. So there's a lot of archaeologists. I hate to say this, there may be some professionals here. Bill, I don't want me to demean anybody, but I'm not too impressed with archaeologists, paleontologists, and anthropologists with degrees. I've just seen too much stuff that contradicts what they say. L.A. Marzulli here did DNA on all, I think most of these skulls over here, and again found out that they're Middle Eastern. This is how the thing was wrapped up. This little cloth here, I don't know if you can see that, the little cursor. That cloth, the little band around it, was beautifully woven like it's machine woven. And the dyes were still bright. There were little crabs that reversed like this. Some were purple, some were green, and the band was yellow around it. And the cotton, the actual wrapping was brown cotton. Beautifully done. To think these people were primitive and not advanced, and we are as opposed to them, is just wrong. This is the skull here, the front of it. You see how tall that head is? That's how tall that person's head was. I told her I thought she was a 17-year-old female, and ancient aliens said it was a 12 to 15-year-old male. I said, no, I don't think so. So This lady, Marcia Moore, you see her reconstruction based on this skull. That's what she sort of thought she looked like. The teeth on this, if you know anything about North American Indians, for the most part, the back side of their front teeth are shoveled out. You ever heard that? Am I right, Bill? That's a fairly well-known fact, I guess, of some North American Indians. Well, this skull has the front teeth are shoveled out of the back. So that raises a question that we're trying to find out what does that really mean? This is one of the first ones I molded in Peru. It's a little, we call it number 18. A lot of these are found by grave robbers. They come in, they tear up these graves, they've been there for thousands of years. They get all the valuable stuff they can sell, the pots, the gold, and all that sort of thing. And this Juan Navarro was collecting all these artifacts and skulls that were laid on the ground and had them in the museum. So we went down there and I molded this one in very poor conditions. My table wasn't already that big, it was just really cramped conditions. Sometimes the electricity didn't work, and if it rained, which it never does, it'd come right through the ceiling. Now this skull here was in the news a lot. This was down there, and you notice the hair? I think that shows up, it's auburn, okay? That's not black or brown hair, that's auburn hair. And there are other redheads, just pure out redheads, kind of like Harriet over here, which is natural. Anyhow, my job was to mold this. Well, I didn't want to mold the hair, but it was taking too long, so I hardened the hair, put gauze around it, hardened that up, just removed the hair, it came right off. And then I molded the skull, and we put the hair back on, so there it is. So what is auburn hair doing there? This tells us there's not just Orientals in there, there's something else coming in from the Middle East. This is a real long skull from Russia, just being dug up recently. This is another extreme, we don't know if this is natural or was it formed. This is another extreme shape, but sometimes they would bind these heads as babies in the first year and a half to give them these really weird shapes. Don't know if it's natural or what. This is Marcia's rendition of this skull, you can see that. That's the way those skulls really are. And you can kind of see why some people say, well, these are space aliens, or they're hybrid from planet Nibiru. Then they found this thing. See the hand over here? Oh no, you have to get the hand. Okay, see the feet? It's got 3 long toes for feet. And it's got 3 long fingers for fingers. Well, this is obviously not normal. It's got extra bones in there. This is a hand from another one of the mummies. They're covered in some kind of white powder, I'm not sure what. Now this guy, Kraywicks, was in communication with me, and he was inviting me to come down there and see this stuff. Well, Gaia, which is kind of a secular organization, into the esoteric and all that, and sort of the space alien stuff, went and analyzed the remains, and so there's been people studying it. Other people have said, well, this is all fake. Some was made this out of plaster. And I said, no, it's not plaster. It's the actual bones of something. So you're saying, well, it must be a space alien. But if you know about a tribe in Africa that has 2 toes, just 2 toes, the whole tribe just has 2 toes. There are other people with 6 toes, 7 toes. There's the pygmies over in Africa. They're all just people. So whether you have 2 or 3 toes or more, doesn't make you not human, doesn't make you a fake. So we're saying don't just make snap judgments. And if there's a theme to the talk here this week is don't make snap judgments. There's a lot of stuff that these people will tell you that you hadn't thought of before, which will adjust your feeling about Bigfoot, Mothman, these long-headed Peruvians and all that. The more you know, the closer you'll come to the right definition of it. This girl here, Melanie, has surgery scheduled, so she could not come. So I'm just going to kind of tell her story. She inherited this little skull. that was dug up back in the 30s by a little girl that was told not to go into the caves and mess around, but she did anyway. She found these two skeletons. One was of this child, one was of an adult, and you see both skulls over here are cast over. And she was afraid she'd get trouble, so she put them in a basket. Big rain came up that day, washed them down the creek, and all she found was a skull and a little bit of the maxilla to the baby, or to the juvenile, and the skull to the adult. The adult had been hit in the head 4 times, extremely hard, but her skull's a ½ inch thick, so it didn't crack. It just cracked the skull, it didn't dent it. So it may not have been fatal. Anyway, another guy named Lloyd Pye took this skull for about 16 years, and he got famous for making it into a space alien, a star child, some child who came from the stars. So Melanie and Chase was also going to be a speaker, and she's scheduled for some things she couldn't get out of. But they came to me and said, look, we just want to do the study on this all over again. Let's do brand new DNA. We want you to study it, make a cast of it, an exact cast, and then we'll get new DNA. And Bill here came down and got DNA. That's what they used, wasn't it? So she says, I don't care if it's some little Mexican kid that's 900 years old or if it's a space alien, just give me the truth. So they did, and the results of that are now published. Turns out that it's basically, Billy might correct me, an Apache mother or father and a Mexican mother or father. You know which was which? Was the Apache the mother or the father? Do you have any idea? Oh, the star child? It was a mix of both. I mean, probably someone who lived on the border. Anyway, she said, okay, that's what it is, and it's not a space alien, and she said that. So my point is, like the Bible says, get knowledge, get understanding, and get wisdom. Without those things, you can't have much wisdom. You have to have all 3. So I know there's one thing we all have in common with the speakers here, and a lot of you people, is we're interested to know what you know. I'll tell you what I know, you tell me what you know, and we'll all know more. And the more we know, the closer we get to the truth. So that's my talk for this morning. Do you have other questions or anything, anybody? There'll be a test. Rachel, were you taking notes? How we got here? Well, it didn't take long.
So,
Yes, sir.
so you're saying these located heads that were found in Peru are people who possibly their heads were just found in order to make the skull become elongated like that?
Well, we know they did bind some of the heads. There's 4 different styles they use. They found the head bindings on some of the babies. You have to do it the first 1.5 years. But like I'm showing, if the baby comes out born with a really long head, well then you can't say that's what did it.
Okay, are you saying that's genetic?
It must be genetic, yeah. So what does that mean? We're trying to find out, are they related to the Egyptians who had the really long heads? Some of the North American Indian tribes had really long heads. And we all think Indians are like the guys with the headdresses and all that. But Indians are a pretty diverse bunch of people in North America. And they derive from different parts of the world. So this sort of proves that. There's in some of the mounds down in Tennessee and other places, some of the artifacts look Aztec. Y'all ever seen some of that stuff? They don't look like, the guys we know made that stuff. So archaeologists, again, anthropologists, have told us that, well, we all came from apes and finally learned to chip a tool and kill a deer, and we're all just dumb. So we came along and we're really brilliant. The truth is, people have been traveling all over the world for a very long time. Since Noah's flood 4,500 years ago, did they know how to build boats? Yes, they just got off the biggest boat ever made, at least in the history of the world at that point. They weren't stupid. They could see a bunch of reeds out here. They said, look, we could bind a bunch of reeds together and it won't sink and we'll just go somewhere. Like, y'all ever heard of Kon-Tiki? Everybody read the book Kon-Tiki? Kon-Tiki with Thor Heyerdahl proved that, yes, people can take ropes or whatever, reeds, bind a bunch of reeds together and sail a long distance without sinking. So, did they do that? Why wouldn't they? You know, the world's a new place after the flood. There's nobody out there. And I think there was a lot of exploring. We just act like they all came over on the Bering Strait and finally got to be us. You know, it's just all that archaeology junk they told you, pretty well throw it out, in my opinion. You have a question? Yes, sir.
Question on the star chart. My understanding is that Mr. Lloyd, when he had the skull, he had it analyzed, and it was definitely not human. Is that correct?
That's what was said when Melanie had a hard time getting the skull back, and she couldn't prove his research. It wasn't available to her or something. So we don't know exactly what Lloyd Pye did, but he promoted that pretty thoroughly, that it was not human. What it is, it's the child had hydrocephaly, which is water in the brain, and that's why the head was so big. But he lived to be 5 years old. They can tell pretty much from the teeth. So that's pretty long to live with hydrocephaly. So it's not my fight, but Melanie and Lloyd and that whole group, they were at odds with each other. So, you know, Lloyd did say that, and Melanie says no. The DNA says he's from South America, or from us.
Is she doing more analyzing on the skull?
She has now repatriated the skull just recently back to Mexico. But they were really grateful, and they're probably going to make it available for further research if she's involved. And there's more that could be done. That other adult skull ought to be studied. It's a really interesting skull, and they haven't studied it yet, as far as I know. Yes, sir.
Joe, you were saying about the Middle East example. Is that from DNA?
That's what they're saying, DNA.
Okay, and is your thesis that the preponderance of most of these are not any kind of Nephilim hybrid or whatever? I mean, I'm not into the ancient astronauts evolved beings for millions of years. I mean, but are these hybridized, or do you think the preponderance of them are really just human skulls?
So these long Baraka skulls, are they hybrids of Nephilim or space aliens? What we're seeing is they're related to the Middle Easterners. Well, the Middle East is where the Nephilim or the Anakim,
Right.
or the giant tribes of Anakim, of which some European royalty claims to have descended. Y'all know about the term divine right of kings?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's probably, if you think your father was an angel, right, or your great-great-grandfather was an angel, you could consider yourself part divine. Gilgamesh said he was half divine, so he was half angel. So you can debate that if you want to, but that's what they say. The Bible says the sons of God saw the daughters of man, daughters of Adam, that they were beautiful and took every one they wanted, apparently. And from that came the Nephilim, the wicked giants. So those are in the Middle East. And then when Joshua and Caleb came along, they began to fight these giant people. And when David came in, we feel like the giant races at that time said, you know, David's going to kill all of us. So why don't we just go? So about that time, all over South America, China, North America, all these advanced civilizations pop up and they can't figure it out. Archaeologists can't figure out. How could they just out of nowhere, these little banana farmers, all of a sudden can, you know, make these giant pyramids with all this sophisticated astronomy and everything? Well, that was probably these guys. Like the Peruvians said, these men came in on, these giant men with blonde hair, came in on this boat of snakes. Okay, so you tie a bunch of reeds together, and you stick a dragon head up here, a dinosaur head, which they were still seeing then. Everybody thinks dinosaurs have been extinct. Well, they're not extinct. So they come in on this boat that looks like a big snake, So they said, well, the guys that came in on the snake, that's who came in and showed us all this stuff. So you go to Peru and ask them. Does that answer it?
Yeah, thank you.
Send.
What characteristics are any, if any, in the adult skulls that you can distinguish? Is there any that you can distinguish between the elongation being natural versus being compared to cultures that just wrap the brain?
Well,
is there anything that's distinctive that if you look at a skull from someone that's a culture that wraps it, and then you look at a skull that is old, that appears to be natural, is there any distinctions that you can say this is natural versus this is?
right.
This
Is there any distinction in the adult skulls between those that we know are wrapped and those that aren't wrapped? Could you tell? Well, the other factor on all these long skulls over here is they only have one parietal. You know, it's like having one bicycle wheel on a bicycle. You know, we've all got two parietals. Those are two major bones in your head, and they've only got one. So what does that mean? You know, we're trying to find out. That's a reason for research. The other thing is, between the occipital back here, the base of the skull, and the parietal up here, are inca bones, these separate bones that come out. They're actually a separate bone. They look like an amoeba, kind of. And there's one little back of the head of a guy over here. There are 30 extra bones in his head. So if by bone count someone is more advanced, well then these guys are more advanced than we are. I don't have that. All of these have extra inca bones, except the baby we don't know. We couldn't x-ray it. It's just too fragile. The thing with paper thin. Yeah, it put me in the hospital molding the dang thing. But, there are other bones in where the frontal comes along, which is never closed, never seals in all these long skulls. And in some of them, they'll have an extra bone or two over here. This little number 18 female has a 8-pointed star bone in this side of her suture, and a sort of a comma shape on this side. What does it mean? I don't know. Also, the separation between the front teeth on the number 18 is a 1/2 inch wide. On the adult, the separation between the front teeth is 1 inch. So is that genetic? Did they knock their teeth out? I don't know. But a lot of questions. If we had more money, we'd do more research. So as we get more money, we're doing more research. But so far, the Incans seem to have the corner of long heads and extra bones. Yes, sir.
Joe, could you share about your work with Dr. Elongated Skulls? He's been to Peru and he's been investigating the elongated skulls as well. Could you share a little about your involvement with him?
Yes, Dr. Aaron Judkins and I went to Peru together with Ali Marzulli and others. And that's his book. He's done a lot of research on the footprints in Texas. The fossil footprints, you can say they're not human if you want to, but some of them are so human looking that you can't say they're not human. Aaron's done a lot of work, and the Caldwell track over here with Kaylee, check that out. It is a human footprint. Now, if it's fake, it's still a good looking human footprint. But, you know, when you take a layer of limestone off and here's the footprints, they're not carved by the Indians. You know, that's what's there. Dr. Judkins went to Peru. He's the guy that, if any of y'all saw the movie Finding Noah, anybody see that? Aaron was the guy that put that together. He's the one that got the film crew up there. They all nearly die every time they go up there. I mean, I don't know why they go up there. It's death-defying every time they go up. They didn't find Noah's Ark. Sometimes they do. When it falls out, they'll find part of it. It broke apart in the 50s, apparently, and about 1/3 of it rolled down the mountain. And they see it upside down occasionally. But he's been to Peru. They liked Aaron over there quite well, the ladies in the museum. And they said, oh, you can come dig up, you know, a mummy if you want to. We're going, why him? So he's done a lot of work. He did a lot of measuring the skulls, measured the Star Child and other skulls. He said of the long heads, he said actually they're within the parameters of normalcy. They look extreme to us, but we're used to seeing normal people. But there is a wide range in the humankind. And if you don't know that, you see something abnormal and you think, well, that's got to be, you know, something other than normal. So, but yeah, Dr. Judge gets to do a lot of work. Also, Aaron couldn't be here. He flies, he's a nurse with EMS, and they schedule him sometimes and he cannot get out of it. So I got to go, I can't get out of it. So he would be here to talk about air ramp. And also, were you aware that Aaron was in Qumran here a couple years ago and found that qualified cave number?
He went back to look for some of the missing scrolls, right?
Yeah, I
Copper
think,
scroll.
I think that's cave number 12, they verified cave 12 or 13, which is a big, big deal. So Aaron was in Qumran. My brother Tom and I were just over there last year, and we went to Qumran. We didn't go down in the caves, but you can see, yeah, there's caves everywhere. You can see what's going on. And so he went with a crew, and they excavated. You ought to go over there and dig in those caves there, Don. You need to go to Qumran and dig in the caves over there. This is the biggest cave digger in the world here. But they found a little scroll and didn't have anything on it. You go, oh, that's too bad. You don't have anything. No, that's great. Because now they've got a real scroll with nothing on it, so they can analyze the scrolls and know exactly the composition of a real scroll, which will tell them what's fake. Because they know they're making fake scrolls, and they're pretty good at it. But if you've got the real thing, like a real dollar bill, if you know the real dollar bill, then they won't fool you with the fake one. So anyway, that's a pretty big deal for an archaeologist like Aaron Jenkins.
Thank you.